Okay, welcome everyone. Kind of give everybody a chance to kind of log on here and get rolling fairly quickly. Sure appreciate everybody being here. Perfect, good. Nice to see everyone joining. Terrific. Nice to see you all. Yeah, good. Looks like everything's working. Couple quick things I need to do here real fast. Couple quick things I'm running through, and then we'll get started here in a second. All right, let's get started. Welcome, everyone. It's so nice to have you here this afternoon to our first episode of the Net Effect Career Connections and Conversations. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join us for this inspiring biblical-based webinar series. I'm your host, Robin Jones, Director of the ABF Career Alliance. And our special guest today is Southwest Airlines Captain Alan Zwick.
Hi.
Yay, thanks. Welcome, Alan. I'm so excited about our program today. This is going to be packed full of inspiration and ideas to help you and inspire you to take action. We're delighted at the responses for the webinar series, and glad you're all here with us. So, before we get started, I got a few housekeeping items. If you're not able to see me, you may need to download and run Zoom. If you do not download and run Zoom, you will not be able to participate in our Q&A and polling. So let's run a quick Q&A test. To participate via Q&A, it's located in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen, right in the middle. Click on the Q&A icon, and it'll pop open on your screen. And then what I'd like you to do is type in who you are and where you're from, so everyone can kind of see who's here with us this afternoon. The chat has been disabled. Hey, look, there's Kristen. Hi, Donna. Mark. Lane, it's good to see you all. Lisa, fun. Terrific. Thank you so much. So the chat's been disabled. So if you try to chat with me, I probably won't respond. But if you have a question, just put it in the Q&A. Hey, Joe, Jane, nice to see you all. So last thing, I will launch a poll at the end during our final Q&A wrap-up. So that's a real important thing for us. I'm going to come back to it, but that's when I'll ask for some feedback on this afternoon's webinar. So let's get started. I want to introduce Alan, our special guest. I've known Alan for over 25 years, and he is truly remarkable and inspiring, and an Albert Baker Fund career ally. Alan's humble background began in the fields of Kansas, where he grew up on a farm and was active in his county's local 4-H chapter through high school. From the farm in Kansas, Alan journeyed to the Air Force Academy and graduated with a BS in management along with a commission in the United States Air Force. Alan's distinguished military career has earned him numerous awards and honors. to name a few, he was the 9th Operations Group Company Grade Officer of the Year. He was a top graduate pilot instructor training class, academic honors in U-2 initial training. And that's right, he's a U-2 pilot, or was. That's kind of crazy looking aircraft. It's black, looks like a big giant glider up in the air. I've had the good fortune to ride in the U-2 chase car, a 5.0 Mustang, on the runway with Alan as he's guiding these big U-2s in for landings, for these touch and goes. I also was a witness to his world record altitude flight with the 2,000 kilogram payload in this U-2. And it was, is it 66,925? Is that right, Alan?
Yes.
Well, I didn't really witness it. I mean, because I can't quite jump that high, but I did get to shake his hand after he was, as he was finished, was telling me about his recent jaunt up into space. But nowadays, if you fly Southwest Airlines, you'll find him saying howdy as you walk by and on board the Boeing 737 at a Southwest Airlines terminal. He's a captain and based in Las Vegas. So welcome, Alan. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Robin.
So what I thought we would do is to start with a question. We all know how the landscape has dramatically changed in the last few months. And for many, it has been turned upside down and shaken, rattled, and rolled. So I was thinking, Alan, what are some important issues that you've been addressing today?
Well, Robin, it is a little disconcerting when you show up at the airport now and the airline employees outnumber the passengers in the terminal. And where we used to only have 4 or 5 seats open on a flight, now many times that's the total number of passengers on board. And so that's kind of the normal now, and we're all considering what's going to be the next normal. And that's from my career, and I know many other careers have had similar impact and kind of turbulence, so to speak. And that was where I was thinking about that Bible verse from Romans, where it talks about that therefore being justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, by whom we also have access by faith to this grace, wherein we stand and rejoice in hope of the glory of God. And not only so, but we glory in tribulation also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope. And hope maketh not ashamed, because the love of God is shed abroad in our hearts by the Holy Ghost, which is given to us. And so when I was reading this and thinking about the current turbulence, tribulation kind of going on, both in my world and throughout the world, I was thinking of that patience as we go forward, and also how that leads to reflecting on the experiences that I've had throughout my career. And this isn't the first time we've hit some turbulence, and imagine it probably won't be the last time, but I do get hope and faith from looking at the past and seeing how I was protected and cared for there. And not that I always knew how the outcome was going to be. That's not always ours to know at the time, but it is to have that faith and to look around and see the blessings we have today, and to kind of see how day by day the manna falls.
So it sounds like you're really praying about this difficult situation and trying to apply some of that inspiration in the things that you're seeing and feeling out there as you walk through some of those terminals.
Yeah, yes, and that's we're too, and something else that we have to counter, and this is in the verse from Science and Health that was in a recent Sunday lesson as well, where it's easy to follow that human sense, and this is where Mrs. Eddy talks about human sense may well marvel at discord, while to a diviner sense, harmony is the real and discord the unreal. We may well be astonished at sin, sickness, and death. We may well be perplexed at human fear and still more astounded at hatred, which lifts its hydra head, showing its horns and the many intentions of evil. But why should we stand aghast at nothingness? The great red dragon symbolizes a lie, the belief that substance, life, and intelligence can be material. So that's where I think back to, what is my true employment? What is my true source of supply? And try to see the spiritual side of that, and be grateful for the manna that has fallen today, and trust that there will be more tomorrow.
Well, it looks like maybe you've had there's been a few things kind of happen in your past, right? I mean, my gosh, you're like a poster child of challenges.
Well, it could look that way. I really didn't realize that until Robin, you and I started talking about putting this webinar together. And so I thought, well, let's look back and see when the last recessions hit and kind of what I was doing at that point. And pretty much, yeah, I had a fork in the road career-wise every time. We seem to have some challenges within our economy. And first off was when I came out of high school in '82. We were in the middle of a recession. You can see pretty high unemployment, and that's where I was fortunate to have the opportunity to go to the Air Force Academy, and that was a great demonstration and a story I can tell another time, but how that all worked out. Then my first opportunity to get out of the service was in '92, and once again, to some, it appeared to be kind of bleak, but at that crossroads, the Air Force provided me some incentive to stay in, and that was when I was able to get that U-2 assignment and do some very interesting things that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do otherwise. And then I got out of the Air Force in 2000, and most of us can remember that then about 18 months later, I'm getting ready to push off the gate in Seattle, and we get a call that there's a nationwide ground stop, and that we need
Can't
to pull
imagine
back
what
on the
that would
gate.
have been like. Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm bottom of the seniority list, just separated from the Air Force, and talk about kind of some uncharted territory. Yeah, that was definitely for the airline industry something that we'd never experienced. But the same thing, I was protected and guided through that situation, and then '08, right around that time was when they changed the retirement age within the airline industry. So that deferred some retirements and could have put a damper on my career as well. But fortunately, I was in a situation where, even though that was quickly then followed by an economic downturn, I was at a company that was well prepared to handle that. And we pressed on, and once again, didn't affect my career. And now here we are, and seemingly in a situation that in some ways we can feel a little out of control and helpless, and decisions being made by others that can dramatically impact us and our careers or lives. And that's where I think of the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And those were three individuals who had some rules made that didn't go along with their beliefs. And by sticking to their guns and living up to their highest sense of right, they were protected. And it's easy for us when we're reading that story, at least for myself, to go, well, I know how it ends, so it was easy for them. Well, at the time, they didn't know how it ended. And they were able to walk through that fire and come out the other side without even the smell of smoke. And I know the same can be for us in this situation.
I love that. I think those are all really marvelous examples of facing adversity and finding your way through them. So one of the things that I always ask is, I mean, what do you recommend to folks today? You know, I mean, how do you is it important to have conversations with people outside of your lane? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, yeah, I think at times like this, it's easy to kind of withdraw and kind of go on defense, but I think this is a good time to reach out. If you're in a situation where you're not working as much, like I am, we've cut our flying schedule by over 50% at this point. So I'm definitely not working as much, but it is a time for me to do stuff like this, to reach out to folks, connect with people I haven't talked to in a while, kind of rekindle those relationships, and also take a step back and kind of evaluate where I am. And talked earlier about this is a good time to express some gratitude for some of the experiences we've had to get ourselves to this point, and to draw faith from that, and see where we want to go, and kind of look at how our next normal can start to shape up without getting too specific, because we don't want to restrict ourselves, but to see what opportunities present themselves, and be prepared to accept those challenges.
So, I mean, how much time would you recommend, or I mean, how much time are you spending reaching out to folks? And would you say to our students and, you know, other professionals that are out there?
Well, I don't have necessarily a specific amount of time that I set aside. My schedule is a little more fluid than some, but I know for some people, they'll set aside a specific time, you know, maybe a couple days a week, where they'll just kind of push their normal business aside, and that's where then they'll send some emails or texts or give somebody a phone call. There's also the philosophy, you know, never eat alone. So
Right.
if you have an opportunity to get out to dinner with somebody and reconnect, and as we're seeing now, we've got some valuable tools with you know, Zoom and FaceTime and those kind of things to set up some conferences, and you may not be there physically, but connect with them this way, and kind of cooperate and see what everybody's up to and what their plan is for working through this situation, and how you can be part of that solution.
Yeah, we have some terrific resources in our tools and tips section on the Career Alliance website for informational interviews and how to do informational interviews. So it's a terrific time. I know Alan's done several, you know, of those with some of our students in the past, and you know, it's just a great time to actively be engaged in finding people that you haven't talked with before. Or, I mean, I got a call the other day from a good friend of mine. His whole family FaceTimed us. We haven't talked to him in a while. Of course, his whole family hadn't been together in a while. So we all sat around in his kitchen and our kitchen, and we just visited and had a great time just catching up with everyone. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about Southwest Airlines, and you know, what does it take to become a pilot, and maybe some more specific questions that we've gotten from our folks that registered for the webinar. So what does it look like in terms of the hiring process and criteria for candidates that might have an interest in flying today?
Well, prior to recent events, I mean, we were in the middle of a pilot shortage, and my personal feeling is that we'll probably see that and the hiring pick back up once we get to the next normal. But currently, our training center is shut down, and we've put that on hold due to the uncertainty in the future. But that's where to be a pilot takes some lead time. So if that's something that you are considering, this is one of those times to start putting those feelers out, figure out what you need to do, what can you knock out, because there are ways to do some of that learning remotely and start working on those things. Also do some research and figure out what part of the aviation industry interests you. And there's parallels with whatever your industry is. It isn't just specific to flying airplanes.
I mean, is there like, I mean, are there, I mean, is there an age requirement? Are there some of are there transferable skills? I mean, if I'm interested, what kind of things should I be thinking about?
Well, of course, there's the flying side of it, which is obvious. And two, there are certain things, if your goal is to fly at a scheduled commercial carrier, you're going to need to be 23 years old and have 1,500 hours of flying time and a few of those things just to get the minimum certifications. But there are other opportunities within aviation that don't require that. And you can start flying airplanes when you're, I believe it's 16 is when you can start flying, and you can sit for your check ride when you're 17. And then there are ways you can, flight instruction. Once you have your commercial tickets, you can get your instructor license and start instructing. There's also charters you can be doing, those kind of things. And it's the same way on the other end too. There is a mandatory retirement age within the commercial airline industry, but once again, that doesn't apply to instructing and charters and private aviation. So,
well, yeah, thank you. I don't mean to interrupt you. I do have a couple questions from our participants, and one is, as pilots, I think this is obviously a pilot, we pre-flight the plane and the mission and use checklists during the flight. Do you have like a metaphysical pre-flight that you follow?
Yeah, I do. And it's not always the exact same one. I mean, it's the same way with airplanes. Depending on the phase of flight, we have different checklists. And also, if things are going abnormally, we have a different checklist there that we run. And so, what I go to is normally just starts with being still, because many times when things are presenting themselves, or when I begin my day or I'm beginning a flight, need to just take a step back and get quiet and centered and feel the presence of mind and listen. And then sometimes that then leads to action. Other times it just leads to reflection and where do we take it from there? And then also checking my motives. And when I'm in a situation that's could be confrontational or something uncomfortable or those kind of things, it's, well, what are my motives here? What are their motives? Or, what is the situation? And then understanding that there can be a harmonious solution for everyone and everything involved. And then just seeing how I can put that into practice and what I can do to bring harmony to that situation, or what I can do to help out and see a peaceful solution.
Terrific. Well, we put some links on your screen so that you can go to the Southwest career link and find out information. And then Alan had another link that he thought might be good, Destination 225D 225. And if you're interested, we'll talk a little bit more about this. Captain Al has a Career Alliance connection as well. And you can access that by going to the abfcareeralliance.org website. And you'll see a Twitter feed where I post all the career connections. And I posted his career connection. So you can click that and it'll take you directly to his posted career connection, and you can request a connection there as well. We'll talk about that again. I'll come back. So before our final Q&A of the evening, I want to make sure that I launch this poll. And again, the polls are real important for us here at ABF because it's a way to help get our feedback and so that we can improve and keep moving this thing forward. Alan, I did want to go back while folks are looking at these polls. So everyone that's on, please take a moment and start completing these polls. It's only 4 or 5 questions. It'll take you a minute or so. I found it interesting when we were having a conversation this morning, and you mentioned something about as you move forward, things start to open up, that potentially the middle seat might not be, you guys might not use that. And you talked about a couple of really new things as to reflecting on, opportunities that were there that may not be there. Talk to us a little bit about what your idea of losing the middle seat and having the impact of losing all those passengers and all that revenue coming in.
Right. Yeah, and that's where some within the industry, I haven't heard any specific companies talking about this yet, but that is one of the things that some of the groups within the industry are proposing to kind of have social distancing on the airplane, is to block off the middle seat. And first thing, it could come to mind, well, wow, we just lost a third of our revenue. And while that is something that could happen, there are some upsides to that. Fortunately now the price of fuel is low, so that's going to offset some of those costs, could be. And also there's the opportunity to carry more cargo because many times we are weight restricted when we're flying, and right now the passengers are the priority, so we would fill up with passengers and not always carry cargo at a company like Southwest. So there may be some opportunities there as the next normal presents itself, and there may be more people shopping at home, doing those kind of things. So there may be more of a demand for that cargo. As a pilot, I can look at it and say, well, if the demand comes back up, we've got the seats blocked off, but we still need the same number of seats. Well, then there's an opportunity for more flights. So that's where too, we've just got to be willing to step back and see what the next challenge is that's presented to us. Because at Southwest, the 10-minute turn was not something we originally planned. It's how do you fly a 4-airplane schedule with 3 airplanes? And it's you turn them quicker. And that was what happened in our case, was when we were starting up the company, long before I was there, they were trying to get things going and built their schedule, and lo and behold, we're only able to secure 3 airplanes when they planned on 4. And so they put their heads together and adapted to that challenge. And that's what we're going to have to do going forward, is see what's presented and turn those challenges into opportunities.
I think that's I just think that's great. I mean, I love your thought about that. That's so helpful, I think, to many people. I have another question, couple of these questions. So let me just kind of frame it this way. There's a few people that are trying to figure out what career I'm interested in. I mean, how, and they want to know, what do I do? And you've had, really interesting careers. And as you said earlier, as you were thinking about that one, recession, then the U2 thing happened. And so what would you say to someone in a minute about how to find a career and go forward?
Well, I'd say first off, don't accept any limits or any boundaries. Because for me, a Kansas farm boy sitting on my tractor out in the middle of nowhere, it seemed like a pretty big stretch for me to be flying around over 35 years later in a commercial airliner. That was the case. I've been thinking I was going to be a farmer. I used to watch the F-4s come out of a nearby Air Force base and fly over me and buzz my tractor, and thought that looked pretty cool. And as it turned out, this couple of guys in my high school set up a Aviation Explorers post, which was an offshoot of Boy Scouts. The club only stayed together for 6 months. During that 6 months, the national fly-in was at the Air Force Academy. So we organized a motorcycle poker run to raise enough money so we could all pile in, a station wagon and go out there for that. And that planted the seeds that it was possible for me to get into the academy. And so I started pursuing that. And had I limited myself and said, I'm here and I'm going to stay here, because didn't even think that was an opportunity. I thought it was pretty cool. So that's where, too, is get out there, explore some options, and don't outline where you think you have to be or need to be.
Another question, I think it's a terrific question. How do you show you are ready for more advanced work and leadership opportunities in an entry-level position without overstepping or swerving from your lane?
Well, I think the key there is when you're approaching your work, check your motives. And as long as your motives are to support that job and to take good care of your customers and do what your supervisor would like you to do, and as long as you're approaching that from the highest sense of right, you'll be doing the right thing. And I'd say don't be afraid to swerve a little out of your lane, because that's how we grow and that's how we get new opportunities. And when they present themselves, be ready to step up and do them. And until then, that's when we run with patience the race that's set before us, which I always to kind of ponder that and think, well, but if I'm running, am I really being patient? But the more I've thought about it is, yeah, we can be putting a lot of energy into something. We can really be working, but also have that quiet, calm patience in the background to just be ready and receptive for when that next opportunity presents itself.
I love that. Well, in kind of closing here, I thought that maybe you might talk a little bit about the top 3 takeaways that we talked about earlier. And
okay.
Yeah,
I think being patient and that's where right now it can be frustrating at times. We can feel kind of hemmed in given the current restrictions placed upon us while we wait out this situation. But while we're doing that, that's where we can reflect on what we've done in the past that's got us to where we are, and be grateful for our successes and see what we can do to build on those and how we can be ready when that next normal presents itself to move forward and seize the opportunities that are coming out of this situation. And also, 2, use that time to stay connected and maybe get connected. So talk to the people that you know and haven't talked to for a while, and also maybe reach out to some folks that you haven't talked to before. I know in my situation, there's a lot of folks out there that are interested in a career in aviation, and I'll tell them, hey, just give me a call, we can talk, I'm happy to mentor you. But very few ever really return that call and take me up on that. And there's other folks in other careers that are in my similar situation where they've got experience there and are willing to help mentor folks. You just got to ask and do it politely. But most of us would love to share our experiences and what worked, what didn't, and how we can help you out and get you headed down the path to have a successful career. And then 2, we were talking about that, looking at situations that are presented here, not as problems that are unsolvable and we can't get there from here and, oh my God, it'll never be the same. But how can we take this situation and turn it into an opportunity? And what can we do to come out of this wiser and stronger?
I love it. I think it's great. Just a terrific golf clap for all the inspirational ideas you shared with us today, Alan. I appreciate all the questions that came in. Keep those questions coming. I had a terrific time today on this webinar, and I love the energy and the spirit. I want to thank the Albert Baker team for their incredible support of this Net Effect webinar series. I want to make sure that everybody knows again that you can connect with Alan. All you got to do again is go to the abfcareeralliance.org, and when you click in the job seeker section or the ally section or student section on the right hand side, you'll see the Twitter feed. You may have to scroll down a little bit, and Alan's connection. I posted it before we went on, so it's right there, so you can easily go. You can also go to the Career Connections and Jobs board and do a search, but it's right there, and it comes up. I got to tell you, for those of you that are out there that are professionals, we need more career allies, people like Alan who are willing to share what they know. You know why? Because we have students, we have job seekers, we have professionals that want to connect in all career fields, at accounting, finance, sales, marketing, entrepreneurship. We're going to continue the series, and we're going to bring some of those people in like Alan down the road here. So you can help by joining and becoming a member of the Career Alliance, going to abfcareeralliance.org. If you have any questions, email me, robin@albertbakerfund.org. And be sure that you're following us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. I just wanted to thank you all again for being here. And this is Robin Jones signing off for Alan Zwick. Alan, thank you, buddy.
Yep. Thanks, Robin. Thanks for organizing this. You did a great job.
Talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Okay, so the video's stopped and it's just you and me. Hey, man, nice work.
Oh, thanks.
Very good. Yep.
Yeah. So what we wind up with, about 25 people?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, I think we're still on, so I'm going to stop the share.
Okay.
Stop the event.